Santa is a role occupied by his many helpers. When people put on the Santa costume and the beard and all that stuff, they adopt a role, and that role is to help people to be generous selflessly. In a similar way, in Greek times, they used to have the happy masks for comedy and the sad masks for tragedy. That was because they were adopting different roles in drama. Nevertheless, they thought drama was important. This is how I look normally. Well, sometimes anyway, on this channel, okay? Because I am comfortable in this role, I adopt a role where I wear a hoodie and trackie bottoms, and that's how things are. However, I also see patients, and when I see patients, I don't believe that wearing a hoodie and trackie bottoms is going to be very inspiring to their confidence, and that role will be inappropriate to me. As a result, I don't dress like this when I do that. What I do is put on your bog standard shirt and tie. And I do that because I am adopting a different role. And there's nothing wrong with that role. It would be inappropriate for me not to adopt that kind of role, and it wouldn't be inspiring. When I adopt that role, I am also expressing myself, just as the hoodie and trackie bottoms role is an expression of myself. It doesn't matter that it's an image to most people, although some people may feel comfortable with the other one. More people in that context will feel comfortable with this one. So, that is not a problem. Now, we adopt many roles in our lives. For example, if we go out with someone, we tend to adopt a sexual role with them. And that's entirely appropriate, but you're not going to adopt that, hopefully, with a stranger. Now, when you're on YouTube, you don't generally behave differently in everyday life, because what you do is you adopt a role, and there's nothing wrong with that role. But there are certain roles which you wouldn't adopt. For example, I would never wear an army uniform because I'm not a soldier. So I'm perfectly capable of looking like this, and what I normally do is I tie my hair back like that as well. Now, you may have noticed that the mask at the beginning was made of blu-tack. As a result, I'm doing this ad lib, which is a little bit uncomfortable for me, and I need to go back to that, so I will talk about that in a minute. Because blu-tack is a very valuable resource for someone on YouTube. Now, we see certain famous YouTubers and we think we know them because we're facing them. All that's very positive. But it's also very easy to assume that what you see on there is what you get. And that's unhealthy. Charlie isn't really like that, I'm sure. He's supposed to be quite shy in real life. In a similar way, I've actually been stalked twice. However, in a sense, those people were not stalking me. They were actually stalking their image of me. And if he's ever unlucky enough to get stalked, if he hasn't been already, I wouldn't be that surprised, people wouldn't really be stalking him, they'd be stalking their image of him. Now, I have another YouTube account on which I call myself Amanda. From that you can probably gather that I'm not in this role on that account. Also, I've made a couple of documentaries on the telly. One of those documentaries I appeared anonymously, and I was that person that they wanted me to be, and that was fine. And another one, I was a different person that they wanted me to be, and I wasn't anonymous. But they were equally constructed identities, and there's nothing wrong with that, because when you construct an identity, to an extent you become that role, and there's nothing wrong with becoming that role, because when you take off the role, you've discovered something new about yourself, and you've probably made a connection with somebody else, because now you know what it's like, to an extent, to be them. Now, about the blu-tack. Blu-tack is also about roles because of this. Here's my script. That was what I was going to say today. I'm not sure how closely I've stuck to it. This is what I normally do with the script. Stick it on there with the blu-tack, the vital YouTube resource, and proceed to read it out like that. However, that makes it a bit wooden, and therefore you don't end up being yourself. So, nothing wrong with the role adoption. Sometimes it's you, sometimes it's not you. But even if it isn't you, you can find out something new about yourself. And don't think that you know the people that you can see on YouTube just because of what they represent, because you may not. You have an image of them. But even in everyday life, we have an image. I'm a father to some people. I'm a husband to others, to another person rather, and so on. And those are the roles that we adopt in everyday life, and we can adopt roles on YouTube as well. We discover new things about ourselves by doing those roles, and we reach out to people and understand them as well through those roles, and none of that's a problem.